Hello everyone, in today's layout I will be layering my layers. So let's get wild. Well, not too wild. I have a photo of my 4-year-old daughter and myself in my younger days. I'm ready to do this, so let's get started. So this is one of those layouts that I began without a very clear-cut idea of what I wanted to do. I couldn't see it in my head, but I kind of knew some of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted my photos layered on something dark or matted on something dark because I'm using that pretty pink cardstock for my background from Recollections. So I wanted some contrast between my photos and the background. I'm also going to use some pastel colors or bright, colors, and I really wanted my photos to stand out, not get faded into the background. So because I don't have that like solid plan in my head, I'm fooling around a lot here and just pulling out all sorts of things that I think I might use. But surprisingly, I use quite a bit of this. So I have my title, Sleeping Beauties. That's my daughter and I. My husband actually caught us sleeping, and this was years ago in 2001, and he snapped a picture of us. I'm usually the one who gets pictures of people while they're sleeping, so I'm not the only one who does that. Anyway, I didn't want my layering to be my norm. I thought I'd try making larger cuts of cardstock and then making some sort of design or geometrical thing. So I'm going to speed up a bit here and talk your ears off a little bit more. So this is just one of those times of many that I start a layout and I don't have an exact plan in my head of what I want to do. So I thought I'd share with you how I fool around with whatever it is I do that leads to that finished layout. In this case, I knew I wanted certain things. So I did plan on matting whatever cardstock I cut out for whatever shape I would get. And I wanted to mat it on something dark. So I wanted to mat it on the same shade that my photos are on. That much I knew too. Anyway, trying to find shapes behind the photos, I had to keep trying, like experimenting and cutting this and cutting that. And yes, I did keep my scraps of paper. I'll always have scraps of paper the way I scrapbook like this if I keep doing this because I don't want to throw it away. It's pretty paper. This isn't the first time I sat down and didn't have a clear vision of where I wanted my layout to go. But probably the first time I'm really talking about it. But what normally happens for me when I don't know what I want to do and I have my cardstock and my photos, as I start to focus on what I do want out of the layout, then that brings me toward other possibilities. And playing with the cardstock is nice, like just cutting it up and seeing what I could do with it became more like an exercise in visual design or something, because I couldn't just throw the cardstock under there any which way, under the photos any which way. So I really had to come up with something that would flatter the layout, flatter the photos, not take away from them, and also come up with a design that would work with the photos. So in the end, as I kept moving with it, I felt like I was doing some sort of patchwork, like a blanket or something like that. And I kind of liked it. I liked it even more. And putting all of my cutouts of cardstock on a mat, I felt like that made them pop up more. You could see them more as individual cuts of cardstock and not as it wouldn't all blend together, let's say. Hoping that in the end it would offer more contrast to the layout. So there's all sorts of things I think about when I'm doing a layout, besides the colors and the photos and so forth. When I start putting that design together, I sometimes think of it as like telling a story. It's all part of telling the memory or sharing that memory. And when I'm choosing paper, I go nuts because I love cardstock. I really do. Um, and so when I'm trying to choose it, sometimes it's a hard choice. Like I ended up putting that green against the black that pops up right underneath the photos, one of the first layers underneath the photos. And I couldn't find something that I liked as much or was as dark as I wanted it to be. So I went with black. So what I was going to say before I took a different road, when I looking at the layout, sometimes I think of them as a storyboard, like when people make movies and they have their characters and they have the background and the costume. They make like a huge storyboard, and so in a layout in my head, because I don't use a real storyboard, it's in my head. Um, I pull out embellishments and I pull out cardstock and I have my photos. And my photos are the story, and I write a story for it. And then I think of the cardstock and how will the cardstock work with the photos, and does it have anything to do with the story? And it may seem like a lot when you sit down and you break down a layout and you're thinking about what it is that you're putting into it. But when you're actually doing it, you don't really sit there. I don't sit here and I don't think that much. I don't feel like I do. I feel like I just do. And and maybe it's because I've been scrapbooking for a while, and even though I had paused and I stopped when I came back to it, it was very much like riding a bicycle or not like swimming. They say once you know how to swim, you get back in the water, you can swim again. That did not happen to me. So I can't compare it to swimming, but a bicycle, yes. But it's like even though there's all these things going on in my head when I'm scrapbooking and I'm trying to get to the end result, that layout that tells the story, I don't feel like my brain is running around all over the place trying to figure out what's next on the storyboard. I think it once you get started and you're grabbing your cardstock and your embellishments and you have your photos and you know your story, it flows and it comes together. Um, and whenever I do get stuck, like in the middle of a layout or toward the end, I'll pause for a moment, because if something looks like it's not done or it needs something else or it's not going the way I want it to go, if I take a moment, you know, walk out on the porch for a moment, take a breath of fresh air, get a cup of tea or something, and I come back to it, I'm refreshed and I can start again and finish the layout. But I do look at scrapbooking as a form of art. Um, we're making a book, we're designing the pages, we're telling the story, we're putting photos together to tell a complete story, whether it's in chronological order or not. We're telling the stories of our family, our friends, our lives. And when I'm scrapbooking, whether I'm alone or I'm with other people, I have a blast. Scrapbooking is way too much fun. And yes, I'm addicted to it. You might have figured that out already. But I hope that everybody has that thing that they really like doing as much as I like scrapbooking. Even more. Because I think we all need something like that. We need to have a hobby or a passion or something that, gives us a lot of joy. And when I'm scrapbooking, it gives me great joy. And seeing the look on my daughter's face and my husband's face or anyone's face when they look at the scrapbook and they're looking at the stories, especially if they remember something there or they were a part of it, it's even more fun looking at them and watching them go through the scrapbooks. So there's all sorts of, I suppose, reasons we scrapbook. But I think for the scrapbooker, it has a lot to do with the art of it, that we fall in love with that, creating those layouts and telling the stories and sharing the stories and the layouts. I mean, it's all part of the whole scrapbooking process. And telling the story might have a lot of journaling with it or not. Sometimes the title does it, or you just a couple sentences, and sometimes we don't put anything on it. In this case, with this page, the journaling will be on the sister page for both pages. And I'll do that sometimes because I'll lay out a page and I'll look at it and I'll go, I don't know where I want to put the journaling. So since it's part of the story that's connected to it, I know I can put it on the next page or that page because I plan for it. And there are places I could probably put the journaling here, like on one of the green boxes or something like that. I could even put a little pocket behind the page and slip the journaling there, and I could just pull it out. Because sometimes I look at a layout and I like it so much, I just don't want to put anything else on it, and that includes the journaling. And so a lot of times I'll either slip it behind the layout or put it on the sister page and plan for it ahead of time and have a place for it. And that's what I do in this case. I'm almost done here, but I really want to get some flowers on this page and put some sort of dots or bling or something on here. But this was a fun layout to do, and I can't wait to work on the sister page. But I am just about done. I will give you a closer look in a moment. And as you can see, when I'm doing letters, it takes me forever. That's why a lot of times I'll do it off camera, my titles. So I don't know what it is. I definitely need a little bit need more practice with my titles. My voice is almost back. It keeps going in and out, in and out. But hopefully in a... I've been drinking all sorts of concoctions and it's just not working. I feel like I'm running out of things to try. But anyway, I am almost done here. I just want to put something down. My little pink pearls will do it. But I want to thank you, as always, for coming by and joining me. Do like and subscribe and come back again real soon. I'll see you next time. Happy scrapbooking and have an awesome day. In a moment, I will be done here.